Well, hello. Let me welcome you to week 4 of W131. And I'd like to begin by offering an apology for being kind of a confusing period of time earlier. We're all learning our way through Blackboard Learn, all right? And I thought I had had the peer review groups set up very carefully. I spent a lot of time on it. And guess what? They didn't work, all right? And I asked ITS what was up, and guess what? They never got back to me. So they must just be bombarded with questions and problems, that kind of thing. And so what I had to do is I had to redesign the groups, and they're just simply now, and most of you have done this, okay? A few of you are still kind of going around in circles. The groups are all in the discussions, the regular place you go for the discussions. That's where the groups are, okay? So you click over on the left of the home page, or whichever page you're on where it says discussions, and then you have to scroll down, okay? And you'll go all the way down the bottom, and you'll see 7 groups down there, and you're placed in those groups alphabetically, okay? I list out the beginning name and the last name for each group, all right? And then from there on, they act just like a discussion. I have noticed that when I'm in Blackboard Learn, some pages do not scroll up and down, okay? The scroll bar is not there if I'm using Firefox. Now, this is particularly in my version of the gradebook. It's the one place I see it. But I don't really know what you guys are seeing, so sometimes I have a problem. So if you can't scroll down, when I tell you scroll down, but you can't, you need to change browsers. I'm actually finding that Internet Explorer, which is not my favorite browser, seems to be working better with Learn, okay? So sometimes go back and forth between browsers to see what works best. But trust me, all the peer review now is in the discussion menu. You know, just click, it just says discussion on the left of any page. There's that list of blue links that kind of can walk you through different elements of the course. Click on discussions, scroll down, and you'll find your group. And as I said, most of you guys are there. Now, let me not belabor that point. Let me go back to, though, the purpose of peer review, and I know you've heard this before, okay, but one of the things about teaching is you teach through repetition, and I hope it's not too repetitious. That said, peer review is a twofold thing, okay? It's not just getting criticism on your own paper, all right, because sometimes that doesn't work very well. What really works well is you critiquing another paper, because that causes you to do this metacognitive exercise, cognition, that's your brain, okay, and meta means over, all right? So it's kind of like you're looking over your shoulder at yourself, at your own paper, thinking about your thinking about the way you wrote the paper, okay? I'm not trying to make it too complex, but this concept of thinking, okay, of critical thinking is really, really critical. I love that word, all right? So as you review another person's paper, you're looking for paragraphs, okay? Did they write in well-focused paragraphs? You're looking for topic sentences. Does each paragraph begin with a sentence that states the topic in some fashion of that paragraph? And then does that paragraph stick to that topic? Now, a rule of thumb, and I don't like rules in composition, you know, we're not doing grammar anymore, we're beyond that, okay? A rule of thumb is that you have about 3 paragraphs per page, all right? Page of 12-point type, okay? 3 paragraphs fit nicely on a page, and they're handleable. You know, that paragraph is a concept of information. Stephen King talks about that. That's where the writing really begins, is at the paragraph level, not the sentence level. Sentences create paragraphs, okay, but it's paragraphs that tell your story, all right? And so a reader can look at a page, and if they see 3 paragraphs, they say, great, that's 3 things I need to think about, and I can handle that, right? If they see just this big, long page of just dense text, they don't get it. They don't know what they're supposed to be looking at, thinking about, okay? So that's where I come up with this concept of 3. I didn't invent it, all right? So anyway, so look for paragraphs as you're doing the peer review. Then hopefully students will do the same thing for you. If that doesn't happen, at least you've done it for a number of other papers, so you've been thinking about paragraphs. Now the whole point is you're spending this week, this is week 4, doing this peer review process. Next week, you're going to finish it up and you're going to revise your paper. You're not going to turn into a paper to me that has only 1 paragraph per page, okay? Because you've spent this whole week, week 4, thinking about paragraphs, all right? Okay, so I belabored that point, all right? And I would like to point out that a really, really good literacy memoir does a small story well, okay? So please read mine and read some of the other examples I put there in the learning modules. That said, there's a learning quiz, item 5.1. It's not due till the end of the unit, February 13th, but if you take it now, it'll help you think about your own paper quite a bit, okay? You have 1 opportunity to take it. It's a learning quiz. I give you the answers when you're done, that kind of thing. It's open book, so, you know, you can be taking it and looking at other elements of Blackboard or whatever works, okay? So it's a learning quiz. I want you to think about what you're learning while you're taking the quiz, and then at the end, I give you all the answers, and I give you the feedback, and I want you to think about that, please, okay? So I'll be back next week. I'll go over some of these same concepts next week. I'll reinforce exactly where you're supposed to put some things. Don't forget, now that you're doing peer review, you still need to find the assignment link to turn in the actual assignment, the actual literacy narrative to me. I'm not reading your peer review. I'm checking to make sure you're doing it, but I'm not reading it, all right? Several students asked about writer's memo. That's great. Writer's memo is not due until after peer review. It's only due to me. When you submit your paper, then you'll also submit at the same time your writer's memo there. One of the elements I want to see in this writer's memo is how did peer review work for you? Both ways. How did it work reading other papers, and how did students treat you? That gives me an overall concept of if peer review is working well or not. Okay, so hang in there, please. You've done a good job of hanging there. I really appreciate it. Don't forget the quiz, right? Please be working on your peer review. And I am in the process. I'm nearly finished up grading the PowerPoints. They're a lot of fun. It still might take me to about the end of the week because I've got other classes I'm teaching. But I'm really enjoying them. And you all are getting it, too. I really appreciate that. All of you have said unanimously in your writer's memo that, gee, you know, I really enjoyed looking at what the other students are doing. You know, some of you all are shy. I understand that. Or private. I understand that. I respect that. But I really appreciate your getting in there and looking at each other's work and, you know, creating this classroom community. You know, it's hard, and some of you notice this too, it's hard with an internet class to feel like you're really in contact with other students. And that is one of the goals of going to college, is creating this community of learners, all right? So we're trying to do that in this internet class by sharing these PowerPoints. So, hey, thank you very much. I've enjoyed your company this morning.